Have you ever come across an old photo or video that takes you back to a specific time and place? How about a song that instantly transports you to a certain period in your life? Sunlight streamed through the large windows, illuminating dust particles dancing in its golden rays. The bell above the door chimed melodiously, announcing her arrival to the sole occupant in the nearly empty cafe. He sat in a corner, absorbed in a book, his eyes scanning the pages. If you answered yes, then you understand the power of nostalgia. His words were like a key unlocking a treasure chest of long-dormant memories. The cafe swirled around them, but all she could see was the man in front of her. It was as if no time had passed at all. "What is it, Thomas?" "It's nothing to worry about, really," he began, his voice betraying a hint of sadness. "What was it?" she asked softly, sensing the weight of his unspoken words. "It's just that I came across something today that brought back a flood of memories." "Is everything all right?" His eyes glistened with unshed tears as he delved deeper into the jar's contents. He asked, his voice hoarse with emotion, "I never stopped loving you, not for a single day." Each note seemed to evoke a torrent of memories, causing him to laugh, cry and reminisce all within a span of minutes. As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the room, Sarah noticed a change in Thomas's demeanor. The jovial, carefree young man she remembered was now a bit older, his face etched with lines that told stories of joy and sorrow. She, too, had carried the torch of their first love, nurturing it through the years despite the distance that had grown between them. The question hung heavy in the air between them, a silent reproach to the paths their lives had taken. Sarah realized it was a question she, too, had pondered countless times. The day had been a balm to their souls, a soothing ointment on old wounds. "This was in the box, but I couldn't bring myself to read it," he admitted, handing it over to her. The faded ink revealed a melody, a song they'd shared their first kiss to. The memories came flooding back, the scent of his cologne, the feel of his hand in hers, and the taste of his sweet, innocent kiss. Time stood still as she revisited that magical moment in her mind. "I thought you should have this." The day had been like a melody, sweet, nostalgic, and full of promise. She looked up at the starlit sky, feeling a sense of peace she hadn't known she'd been missing. Why had their love story ended when it felt like it was just beginning? Laughter, joy, sadness, longing, anger, and ultimately, hope. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe for more heartwarming tales. Also, check out these videos that we think you'll love. Hope for a future that could have been, hope for a second chance at love, and hope for a friendship that could mend the broken pieces of their past. Was it fate or a series of unfortunate events that had led to their separation? Just like this jar, he added, gesturing to the jar filled with notes. Our love may have been put on hold, but it never truly faded, did it? And who knows what the future might hold? Perhaps it's never too late for a second chance at love. Hearing his heartfelt words echoed the sentiments she'd harbored for so long. It was the one she'd given to Thomas all those years ago. Back then, she'd written down their favorite songs, places they'd visited, shared dreams for the future, anything that encapsulated their budding love. "I know we never had a proper goodbye," he said, his voice barely a whisper. Now, after all this time, here they were, brought together by fate and reunited over a jar of forgotten notes. "And I've carried the weight of that for years." As they stood on the sidewalk, the silence between them was comfortable, no longer burdened by the weight of unspoken words. Then whenever they saw each other, they'd add new notes, keeping the jar filled with mementos of their romance. It had been her idea to seal their love in glass, a tangible representation of their bond that transcended time and distance. But most striking was the sadness that lingered in his eyes, a stark contrast to the vibrant sparkle she recalled. Well, not just any man, but Thomas, her one true love from over 20 years ago. A smile spread across his face, crinkling the corners of his eyes. Fate had dealt them a cruel hand, tearing them apart right after high school when Thomas had to move away due to his father's job. They'd exchanged tearful goodbyes, promising to stay in touch, but life had a way of derailing even the best-laid plans. I found a box of my things from when I was younger, he started, his gaze drifting into the distance as if revisiting those bygone days. And in it, he continued, his voice hushed with reverence, I found this. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small glass jar filled with folded pieces of paper. Each one bore the marks of time, the edges slightly yellowed and the ink faded, yet the contents remained a mystery. Years turned into decades, and the only connection they had was a faded photograph and a jar filled with notes that held the essence of their first love. You said this place had the best coffee in town, and I couldn't resist. Joy at finding such a treasured keepsake, nostalgia for the days of their youth, and a tinge of melancholy for a love that couldn't be rekindled. With trembling hands, he picked up a note, smoothing out the wrinkles as he read aloud in a voice thick with emotion. It does, doesn't it? He said, nodding towards the steaming beverage. And this reminds me of you. You always did have a weakness for good coffee. Ah, you made it, he said, his voice a warm baritone that echoed her own memories. Today we going to dive into a story that revolves around a simple jar filled with notes that has the power to unlock memories and emotions from years gone by. Get ready for a journey through time where every note tells a tale and every tale has a lesson. So grab a snack and a drink, find a cozy spot and let's get started. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air as Sarah stepped into the quaint little cafe. As Sarah settled into the chair opposite him, their eyes met. Of course I did, Sarah replied, returning his smile. The man chuckled. Sarah laughed, a sound that hadn't graced her lips in what felt like forever. Their reunion was nothing short of miraculous. They spent hours catching up, talking about everything and nothing, their laughter echoing in the now bustling cafe. Curious and concerned, she gently inquired about it. He hesitated, then sighed, running a hand through his hair. Intrigued, Sarah leaned forward, her eyes searching his. Thomas took a deep breath before answering. As he placed the jar on the table between them, Sarah felt a jolt of recognition. She knew that jar. The discovery of this jar filled with notes had stirred a whirlwind of emotions within Thomas. Sarah watched him, her heart aching at the sight of the man she once loved so dearly. Finally, he looked up, his eyes shining with unshed tears. Why did you stop writing, Sarah? Sarah felt a lump forming in her throat. But why had they drifted apart? As if reading her mind, Thomas reached out, his fingers brushing hers. His words resonated deeply within Sarah, stirring feelings of regret and longing. It was true. Their parting had been abrupt and devoid of closure. They spent the rest of the evening poring over the jar's contents, each note bringing a fresh wave of emotions. The cafe had emptied out long ago and the moon was high in the sky when they finally decided to part ways. Thank you for today, Thomas, Sarah said softly, her eyes fixed on the ground. I needed this. He nodded, unable to voice the myriad of emotions swirling within him. It was a sentiment they both understood without needing to articulate it. Before parting ways, Thomas reached into his pocket and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. Sarah unfolded the note, her fingers trembling slightly. With tears brimming in her eyes, she whispered, "This song will always remind me of our love, won't it?" "It will," Thomas replied, his voice thick with emotion. He was right. Their love hadn't faded. It had simply been waiting, dormant yet undefeated, enduring the passage of time and circumstance. As Sarah walked home that night, the notes tucked safely in her pocket, she couldn't help but smile. In that one cafe, over one jar filled with notes, two hearts had found their way back to each other. Did you enjoy the story? Please let us know in the comments below.